Ladies and gents, welcome to Next Level Radio. I am your host, Colby Wortman, and our mission is to tackle the biggest questions in strength and conditioning, business, investing, and everything in between. We bring to you the best people in every sector so that you, the listener, can benefit and learn from the best in the biz. Whether that is S&C or business, you can rest assured you're getting the best knowledge available. Having trained athletes for many, many years, we have tried every treadmill known to man. You name it, we've tried it. With these treadmills, there's always been a disconnect, something missing for our athletic performance, something that just does not correlate to athletic success on the field until we tried our TrueForm runners. TrueForm for over 10 years has been elevating the performance of pro athletes, college athletes, recreational runners, and everyday athletes alike. You can check out TrueForm treadmills at trueformrunner.com, and we thank TrueForm for being an exclusive sponsor of Next Level Radio. All right, it's time we all grow up a little bit. Ditch the pre-workout. It's not 2007 anymore, and it's nothing like Jacked 3D. Ditch the shaker. You're not 4 years old, and you don't need a bottle anymore. And get yourself the best dippable pre-workout on the market. Each pouch is patriotically packed with 300 milligrams of caffeine and vitamins because shaker bottles suck. Send It Sups is the on-the-go solution for athletes, LEOs, firefighters, door kickers, and everybody in between. Head over to senditsups.com to get the best dippable pre-workout on the market, and we thank Send It Sups for being a sponsor of Next Level Radio. Next Level Radio continues to grow because of our listeners and our sponsors. Today we present to you Fat Fish Brewing, the official beer of Next Level Radio. Whether you're looking for a night out with family or smashing the best craft beers in the area, you will find it all at Fat Fish Brewing. Check out Fat Fish on the Large Street in Dickinson, or check them out on their website at fatfishbrewing.com. Life has an amazing way of coming full circle and bringing to you the people that you need in your life at that time. As a young whippersnapper, 4 monsters deep, just excited to tackle the day, I'm headed to my first strength and conditioning conference, and I hear about a company called Team Builder. Multiple coaches with experience with Team Builder and other platforms said the exact same thing. They said that you can get very similar products across different platforms. However, the thing that truly sets aside Team Builder and puts their product above anybody else's is their true and genuine customer service. As a customer for many years, both at the university setting and the private facility, I can tell you, Team Builder's customer service is absolutely second to none. Late night emails, programming issues, emergencies on my end are all resolved very, very quickly. So join the thousands of universities and private facilities that use Team Builder to elevate their businesses by going to teambuilder.com, click Start My Free Trial, and use code NLT at checkout. Our next sponsor, Nutridyne, a medical supplement company aimed at enhancing performance and addressing the underlying issues of disease. You will be hard-pressed to find the quality that you'll find at Nutridyne. Listeners of this podcast get 20% off all supplements. Just go to @coach_Wortman and click the Nutridyne link in our bio. Keep up with us on Instagram @coach_Wortman, on our website, nl-training.com, or keep up with us on the next episode of Next Level Radio. Now sit back, relax, and take in the mind-melting knowledge of this episode. Ladies and gents, welcome to the next podcast episode of Next Level Radio. We have our new segments on business, real estate, everything in between, but really being the dumbest person in the room and being able to pull the story out of people that have done much cooler things than we ever will. And so we want to introduce Ben Kappel, real estate agent here in town. And honestly, it came from, I was having a beer at DePora's and just doing my research on agents and everything, and your name came up. And so I wanted to interview somebody that walks the walk and talks the talk with what you're doing. And so I'll just have you introduce yourself quick, my friend.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Ben Kappel. I'm a real estate agent out of Infinity Real Estate Group here in town, and I'm also a real estate investor. I'm not surprised that you heard from me at DePore's. I frequent that place. It's pretty nice establishment we have here in Dickinson. So
It is.
But yeah, thanks again for bringing me on the show.
No problem, man. No problem. We were just talking off air that I truly appreciate people that are in the real estate business that also walk the walk, talk the talk, are able to be in real estate and actually be an investor, because it lends a great perspective to investors when they approach you. Yeah. And so kind of go over your origin story. We were talking about it a little bit with your wife.
Yeah, sure.
Go over that origin story.
All right. So, I'm from the Dickinson area here. I kind of lucked out with our oil boom that we got. That kind of got me started in this business. You work in oil and gas, and you're smart with your money and you invest wisely. And that's kind of how I started this off a little bit. But yeah, so I did that. I was lucky enough to get married from a girl from Denver. Got her to move up here, and she had a house, I had a house, and that really kind of kickstarted the investing thing. Is she was like, oh, let's sell this house, let's get rid of it. The Denver market at that time, this was dang near 10 years ago, was booming. We were seeing double-digit appreciation every year, and everybody was saying, well, that's not going to last. That's not going to last. Just sell, get rid, get out. And no, I said, no, we're gonna put some money in this place. We're gonna fix it up. We're gonna put it on the rental market. And lo and behold, it's still doing great.
Awesome.
And that kind of kickstarted my journey a little bit. And then getting advice from other investors and things too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm sure you've read of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh yeah.
Where you get the two different versions, and that's kind of my life too. Where I'll get one person to say like, no, don't invest, save, put it all in the savings account. Do this. Yep. And then my cousin who sells real estate in San Diego will give me the Rich Dad advice. Like, 100%. What are you doing? Put your money into real estate. Like it's a great investment. Do this. Here's the program. Here's what I do. It's worked for me. And then he told me that do the same thing basically. Yeah. And that kind of kick-started the journey.
Yeah, dude. So it's funny you bring up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was talking about it 5-10 episodes ago. But I had a real Rich Dad, Poor Dad moment. So I have my grandmother who's a real estate mogul. I want to say she's probably up to like the 70-ish property range. And she got into Livingston and Bozeman 40 years ago.
Ooh, great markets right now.
Oh God. So she got into that. She owns a lot of commercial, the Albertsons lot that's in Livingston, the Subway lot, Dairy Queen, all these big ones. And then she does a lot of multifamily. And then I have my other set of grandparents that it sucks. It's sad, but like very dependent on their children living in low income housing. And I had to make this executive decision. Like if I take the similar steps to this grandparent, I'll probably end up somewhere plus or minus a few steps from them. Yeah. But if I take it like this one, I'll probably end up there. And so I actually had that Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but rich grandparents, non-rich grandparents moment. And my grandma actually has talked to me when I wish I was trying to have her talk me off the ledge from buying properties, and she ends up talking me on the ledge. I'm purchasing a duplex here in town, and I was like, Grandma, here's the numbers. It's going to be a tight deal, which everything is right now.
Right away. It's always going to be tight.
It's going to be a tight deal, anywhere from 150 to 300 cash flow a month. But I think it's going to work. And she just talked me on the ledge. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it?
Yep.
So it's cool to have those people in your pocket. And that's why I liked reaching out to you. I just wanted to get a different perspective on how people do things.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting into this, the first step is always the hardest. The first property is always going to be the hardest. The second one's a little easier. The third one's easier. And then it just starts tumbles after that point.
Yep. And I bought my first couple properties and then we had a kid. And then you just have to kind of like recalibrate, readjust, you know? And so we had our kid, and this duplex I'm purchasing will be the first property I purchased since he's been born. Okay. And so my due diligence process was just a lot tighter, tighter, just making sure everything's good. And you and I talked about a little bit that we have some similarities with bigger pockets. And I have been enthused with my experience with them and the people, and just the forums itself is probably one of the best tools that I've ever had.
Yep. You have a question that you just can't get an answer to, put it on the forums and boom, you got an answer. You got awesome. 15 great investors that'll give you advice on that situation.
I know.
And there's no two situations that are going to be the same.
Exactly. And you know that better than most. So going from your point of, so you guys kept the house in Denver and rented that out. Yep. And that's right in Denver?
Yep. Oh yeah. Okay. Right in, I don't know, I can't, on the Arvada side, I would say.
Yep.
But it's still, Denver zip code, which is great for us because appreciation in Denver is out of control.
Yes.
And it hasn't slowed down yet. So,
So how long have you guys owned that one?
well, she's owned it since like 2005, maybe even, or I don't know, or mid 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And so that started the snowball. That's usually kind of what happened with people is we just, we get bit by the bug.
Yeah. And then the first one, nobody knows what you're doing. Like you make mistakes. You have to read books. You got to do the research. And I still don't know the answers to every question. But you got to start somewhere and you got to, make those mistakes and then you learn from them anyways.
100%. So where did that lead you? You guys left that one for a rental. You had a place here.
Yep. So she came up to Dickinson. And we kept that as a rental, and then we just had good jobs at that point. And this is what I'm going to stress the most is avoid that lifestyle creep in your life.
Yes.
So it's difficult when you get a bonus. I worked in oil and gas for over a decade. Bonus season is great. And then when it comes because everybody's driving around with a new truck. They got a new boat, new guns, all that stuff. And then boom, it's gone. Whereas I'm kind of trying to come up with a plan. Like a person needs to have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. You need to have that all put out in place. And I mean, it's going to change obviously, but you need to sit down and talk about what you want to be, where you want to be in 10 years. And so that was the key is, all right, where are we going to go from there? Let's keep adding on properties. How do we do that? And it basically is save your money to get the next one. And don't just, and I'm going to lecture people, if you got a bunch of money sitting in a savings account and it's not doing anything but 0.5%, what are you doing? Throw it into an index fund, open up a E-Trade account, or there's a ton of different programs out there.
T-bills even. Nowadays, you can get 5% on T-bills.
Driving down Villard, I saw one of the banks advertising an 11-month 4.5% or something like that.
Like a CD or something even.
And I was shocked at the returns that they're giving now. Investing's not for everybody. You got to be able to come up with a plan there too and do research on it.
The big thing for me was just finding where my risk tolerance is. Because that's hard. It's super hard. Ours, and we'll get into yours too. Ours is we're a little bit ahead of schedule because I just kept on going and going. But one door every 12 months was our kind of our starting point. And we did all single family, and then this is the first multifamily that we've got into. So that's kind of that was our going forward, and we've got 3 in the last 18 months. And so we're ahead of schedule, but like you and I were talking about, this is when you start having to get creative. Like you're up to over 5, and now traditional lending gets stiff and gets very hard, So speak to that. How have you got from that Denver property to where you're at now?
So then it was invest wisely, save your money, and then we're all right. Let's start the next one. This is our first one that we're actually going to buy, turn it into a rental. You start pounding the pavement, looking for deals. Where do we want to invest? Where do the numbers make the most sense? This one happened to be in Bismarck because the numbers made sense. This property worked. It was actually for sale by owner, and I got a hell of a deal.
Perfect.
I'm not going to complain if they're going to give their property away. I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to take it. But that was the first one, and then again, bunch of mistakes with that one too. It just comes with it. You learn with it. Make sure you put the right tenants in there. Vet your tenants very well. And I was managing this one. Matter of fact, I was taking payments over PayPal when I first started. And then I had to change that because I was like, PayPal will charge you a separate fee if they find out that you're getting, if it's money from like rental income.
Or business wise.
And it's like, all right, we got to change this up. We got to do something else. So that definitely kicked it off. And then once again, it was look for deals, like wait for that next opportunity. We set a goal, 1 property a year. Like we can do this. Make a plan, research, and then the next one was a duplex, and it was actually right next door. It was a dump, and this is the tough part where you got to have some of the skills to do the work yourself in order to accelerate,
especially in the early years.
There's appreciation, and then there's forced appreciation, right? So you can force that property value to go up way faster if you get one that's fallen apart basically or hasn't been treated well for the last year. And it's not easy again, and you learn a bunch. Matter of fact, I was about a month away or a few weeks away from being done, and a water line broke in this place in the middle of February. And it went for like 2 days. I had a real high water bill. But that's why you have insurance. So, it all works out in the end. And matter of fact, I was like, all right, well, I fixed all the flooring, and it looks like I'm getting the insurance company's going to put in new flooring for me too. There's definitely hiccups along the way. And that's when I switched to getting a property manager, because I didn't want to be driving back and forth if somebody gets locked out or something like that too. 100%. And you got to work that into the numbers and make sure the numbers match.
Mm-hmm. And so that was when you said just next door. So 2 in Bismarck then?
Yeah. Well, yeah, this was the second, well, I guess the third property overall that we were buying. Yeah. But yeah, and it just happened to be right next door to the one we already own. That's kind of how I got an in on it right away too. It's like, oh, you're getting rid of this? Like, okay, what do you want? Mm-hmm. And it was cheap. It was maybe like $100,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it's my best property so far right now. I mean, it wasn't easy. They're not all home runs too. When people are getting into real estate, you're not going to hit it out of the park with every property. Like, you hope that you get 1 or 2 in the mix, in the portfolio that was like, wow, that was a slam dunk, that was a home run, that worked out well. Yep. But the numbers don't lie as long as you do the math. And if it's going to work now, I mean, think about it in 10 years. It's really going to work in 10 years. Once the appreciation and once the economy, not even the economy, the interest rate environment that we're in, it's going to work. It's going to work. And rents, they're only going up.
I know.
They're not fluctuating. I mean, Dickinson's a little different too. We have really good years when the oil's booming, and then we have slower years, but people will always still rent.
100%. Yeah. It's been, like we talked about, just my underwriting and my due diligence in the start is just way more stringent. So we bought our first property in the Black Hills, and awesome. That was our home run. Yep. And it's kind of like the Denver market, that was our home run. Appreciation's great. But just the national parks and everything has been awesome. So it was one of my first properties I ever bought, or second, I guess. But I almost wish I would have bought it later, because now my judgment is clouded, when I'm looking at the cash flow numbers from that one, and even just slightly comparing it to a long-term rental in our market, it's much different, And so right now what I'm looking for is something that can appreciate in a good neighborhood. And I'm trying to get more Dickinson, because my other ones are out of state.
Yeah. It's tough to keep an eye on them when they're not right in your backyard.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So I'm looking for good appreciation in the neighborhood or the town. And then I'm just looking to something that is above break even with where we're at right now in the market. So like I said, this one's, by the time the insurance, depending on what that quote comes back, it's going to be about $250 to $300 a month, which I am completely happy with.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And people get into real estate and see $500, $600, $1,000 a month. Awesome. That's your home run.
Yep.
You can do that home run, but most of them are going to be in that smaller range,
Yeah. And then when you're set to retire, I mean, that'll be paid off. That'll be good to go. And that's my wife and I actually joke about moving down to Jimmy Buffett land in Florida when we retire. Yep. And you got to have a plan to do that. That's going to be expensive. And in another 30 years, they're probably going to call it like Beyonce land or something.
Seriously, Taylor Swift land. We'll
be living in like the Beehive or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It'll be something different. But we want to retire comfortably, and these properties will all be paid off by then. And then that's what's your 401k is not going to get you that retirement.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. People, the safe route, and if that's for you, that's for you. But that's the safe route. You can do that, but there's no better retirement plan than buying one property every year for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
The appreciation when you go to sell those, once they're paid off, the cash flow is enormous. It's what I always recommend, friends. But people look at it as like this huge barrier of entry. But once you just slow play it, and all you got to do is throw your feet to the fire.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was the same way for you guys.
You just got to jump in the water.
Yeah, you got to know enough to make yourself comfortable enough to make a decision, but then you make a decision that's going to make you very uncomfortable, and you got to learn. Yep. You just got to go. That's how it was for me, at least.
I've never been, when I'm buying a property myself, I'm always anxious at the closing table.
Oh my gosh,
you'll never get over that. You can't sleep at night because you're thinking, did I mess up? Is this going to work? Is this going to work? Yep. And then you got to just take a deep breath and say, well, in 10 years, this is going to be a home run no matter what.
Yep.
I might struggle the first year, but it won't matter after 10 years. It'll be easy sailing.
That's what people need to really get hammered in their head, because this newest deal that I'm closing on here in just a couple days, I've been so stressed out about it, Ben, for like probably 3 to 4 weeks, because there was some lending issues. I had a very inexperienced lender that wasn't paying attention to details, and so we had to swap over. So it has just been terrible. And so I've just been really stressed out about it. But finally, as of yesterday, all the numbers are done. We signed it. We're good.
Great.
So I can kind of set aside a little bit of stress, So it's super fun. I don't think I could see myself doing anything different for the rest of my life. Like, yeah, you can invest in the stock market, you can do your thing, but this is the way to go.
Yeah.
So you got your duplex in Bismarck, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So walk us through your properties now.
Gotcha.
You've expanded. You said 5.
Yeah. So we did 3 and 3 years, and then I knew at that point that I was going to retire from oil and gas.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid-30s, working out when it's 40 below. I don't want to do that forever. But I needed to have a plan. So that would be in our 5-year plan. It's like, all right, at a certain point, I'm going to throw in the towel and I want to be a real estate agent, but I don't want to just jump in blindly and think that it's all going to work out. You need to have a very thought out plan when you go into this business. And so, the last property was actually an 8-plex. Again, wow. it was in Bismarck. It just happened. Another investor told me that it was going to be coming up on the market. And honestly, I didn't even see the place in person until we closed on it. Yeah. Because at a certain point, as long as the numbers make sense, you're solid. Yep. You can get inspections done virtually. I don't need to drive there to get an inspection, see that. I can get the report. Mm-hmm. And then that was the last one where then it's like, okay, get this one smoothed out. And that one's been lately the biggest headache. With evictions and things, you get eight units in a building, so that's 8 refrigerators, 8 stoves, all this stuff, 8 dishwashers.
8 different people.
We've already had, I think, 3 different evictions. That stuff's going to happen. So there's going to be a break-in period. There's going to be times where you're like, what was I thinking? Why did I do this? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, wow, we've had a good month. All right, next month is good. All right, this month is good too. And then it starts to level out and even out.
Yep.
And so, then once you get a conglomerate of all of these properties together, even if you have one that, okay, crap, we got to remodel the kitchen or we got to do this or we got to put money into it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do them all the same year. You can kind of balance it out. And I'm very much one where it's like you put the profits back into the property. I don't need the profits right now. Put them in there, fix them up, force the appreciation of those properties up instead of just letting the natural appreciation happen. I want to boost it.
Yep. And you have a couple good months, but then you fast forward 10 years and the 8-plex is going to be a very good retirement plan.
Yes.
It doesn't get better than that, having 8 doors. Just like, did you purchase it from somebody that had owned it for a long time prior to, or?
No, I don't think they owned it that long either.
Okay.
The investor that had owned it was once again, they're getting into storage units. That's kind of the latest and greatest of hot investments. And that's nothing that I want to mess with quite yet, but 10 years from now, that's definitely on the list of things that you could get into, even just camper storage, trailer storage, that kind of stuff.
Yes, like the early years of the boom, the people that have owned the storage units here have just done amazing.
Yes.
Amazing, dude.
And what is it? America has like the highest percentage of ownership of storage units. Yes. We got a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And that's not going to change anytime soon.
Never.
So if you're listening and you want a good investment idea, look into storage units.
I know. And you'll probably have to pry it out of the owner's hands because it's a good thing. This duplex that I walked into, this person had owned all 9 for a very, very long time. And he's doing what we hope to do in 30 years. He's offloading and putting them all off. And so he's going to end up sitting very pretty. And then I'm 10, 20, 30 years behind him, just starting to stack it up. So it's really cool how you can kind of go down that process and go down that path of getting to where you want to be, because it's a long game.
Day one is always the hardest. Yep. And that's always the toughest part is, after every property, we make a little post on Facebook. Hey, just closed on this. Yep. Messages start blowing up. How did you do this? How did you do this? How did you do this? Well, then I ask them well, what books is this something you want to do? Have you read any books about investing in properties? Have you looked into any of this?
Yep.
And then I hear, we have, but we just can't find a place that the numbers work. Well, how many offers have you put in?
Yep. How many deals have you analyzed?
Yep. Is this the number that it needs to work at? Have you put in an offer at that number and told them like, hey, this is what I need to make this property work? Worst comes to worst, they say no. Yep. And then you move on to the next property.
Exactly. I had a conversation with a friend and I kind of got a little bit annoyed. But I had a friend, an old longtime friend, post like, everybody says get into real estate, but I can hardly afford X, Y, and Z and all this. And I said, I get that. It's the must be nice people, right?
Must be nice.
Exactly.
Must be nice. Yeah. Well, what's your vehicle payment a month? Is what my first question is.
That's where I'm at. And I said, okay, you're saying it must be nice to me right now because I just threw $40,000 in a down payment. You think I want to do that? No, but I'm looking at the long game, right?
Yeah, it hurts to write those checks.
Oh, God. And so I tell them, I said, okay, you can say must be nice, but what I want you to think about is, were you doing the same things I was 5 to 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Were you making the decisions, having a budget, putting it in very very risk-off assets, growing my money, working hard. Were you having the same habits and routines I did 5 years ago so that you can say must be nice to me today?
Yep.
That's the thing that people don't realize. They see Ben close on a property and they're like, I want to do that. Okay, well, you needed to start 5 years ago.
You can do that.
Yes.
Make a plan. Okay, if you can save this much, you can do it in a year.
Yes,
If you
100%.
can't, you can do it in 2 years. If you can't do that, maybe you can do it in 5 years. But it's not going to happen if your car payment's $1,000 a month either.
Exactly.
Or if you get a bonus and it immediately goes to a new boat or
Side by side or whatever.
Yeah, it's the lifestyle creep that I think gets a lot of people.
I've never heard somebody coin it like that, but just as your income increases, so does your lifestyle, and people just it hurts them in the end. And what people don't understand is you can get creative. And our first property, it's what we did. You can get creative, do an owner occupied for your first one.
Absolutely.
Live in it, 3.5% down, 5% down, $10,000, and you can get yourself
anything under
place.
4 units is single family for financing. So you can get yourself a fourplex, rent out 3 of them, and just live for free if you wanted to.
Yes. And you'll probably end up cash flowing if you have a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex.
Yep.
A couple $100, and now you have somebody else paying your mortgage.
Yeah.
It's not like you need $40,000, $50,000. Now where you and I are at, everything I'm doing is 25% down.
Yeah. That's multifamily. There's nothing around that.
That's the bullet I have to bite.
Yep.
So
like I was saying earlier, now I'm kind of in that 2-year pause from lending. Once you go self-employed, it's a little tricky to get lending.
Yep.
If we go into a little bit about my future plan is I'm in the same boat as everybody. We refinance. We got a great rate on our personal home, but we're still outgrowing it. We're ready to move. Well, don't sell then. That's my advice. Oh, you got a 2-3% interest rate. Okay, that's fantastic. Now's your chance to get into the real estate game. Yep. Keep that property. I'm sure you're going to cash flow phenomenal. The single family housing market in Dickinson for rentals, it's outrageous what people are paying for those.
I know.
So great. Okay, then figure out a plan of how you can purchase your next property without having to sell this and keep it. And then that starts the snowball effect.
People just get in, I think it's our education system and everything, like they just get in this mindset of I buy a house, I move, I sell the house, and we don't have financial literacy.
Yep.
If you can get another, let's call it another $10,000, $20,000 saved up in a year, which almost anybody in this area can do that's an adult.
Yeah.
Get that saved up, get another 5% down, and get into that house and do your thing. This is now renting out, cash flowing. You can now start to build a snowball that's huge.
Even if you can't get that 20% down on your new house, you got to take and imagine, okay, I'm going to make $1,000 of cash flow on my old house. You can put that into your new mortgage payment. Your new mortgage payment won't change.
Yep.
And you've just went from like a $200,000 house to a $400,000 house.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that. It's the creative ways that really turn me on to even bigger pockets too. They just really give you no excuse to get started. You just need to do it.
Yeah. And I like their saying is, well, okay, you can't find deals. How many offers have you put out?
I know.
They say that all the time, and it does kind of hit home.
It lights a fire under my ass.
Nothing on the market's the numbers aren't working. And the numbers don't lie, and that's why I like real estate. It's okay, well, what does it got to be to make it work?
Yep. Actually, my second property, I met my agent, who also happened to own the house that I was purchasing. That's how I met him. Aaron Schrouder, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's a bigger pockets guy. He's out of Lead in Rapid City area. And so I met him on there. Ended up, I said, hey, I like this 632 Prospect house. He's like, oh, really? He's like, I actually own that house too. So he waived the commission for the fees and everything, and it worked out really well. But Bigger Pockets was the one that did that, and it was just, I was sick and tired of working for every single dollar that I earned. I'm just coming to 30, and so I'm really trying to start it sooner than later. It's the best way to do it.
It comes down to like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 5 years ago.
Yep.
The next best day is today to plant that tree.
Yep.
So you just got to jump in.
I know. So just so I can track it in my head, run down. So you got Denver, duplex,
single family, and then another single family over in Bismarck too.
Awesome.
And now we're taking a break for our 2 years.
Yep.
And then hopefully, it'll be time to upgrade the personal home. And that'll be the next step.
Awesome.
And then, because you got to be looking out 5 or 10 years in your plan to see what you want to do.
And is your wife self-employed as well?
No.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she actually just took a position. She's the director of the public library here in Dickinson.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Very good. So the cool thing that I've experienced, so I graduated college. I've been self-employed since 2017.
Wow.
And so it's that give
You've
and
been
take.
used to it for a while.
Exactly,
then. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like something that has come very normal to me. But it sounds crazy, but a lot of people don't realize this. Having a significant other that is a W-2 employee is a great tool.
Huge
Tool.
I don't know what health insurance would cost for self-employed only, but
Exactly.
that's going to take a big chunk out of your payments.
Oh, yes. And on the financing side, it's helped a lot.
Yes.
We've been able to finance almost 2/3 of our properties through her, because then when we'll shuffle stuff around. We don't have car payments, student loans, credit cards, nothing, just because I want to have real estate debt.
Sure. Yes.
So if we have any type of debt or our debt to income ratio does get out of whack because we just bought a property, we start shuffling things like, okay, this is under your name, this is under my name, and it's been really good because if you look at the self-employment financing side for like real estate, the interest rates are as high or higher than a DSCR loan, which is like
1% over prime usually.
Yeah.
So you're already up at like
8.75 is what I got quoted for DSCR 2 weeks ago.
Ouch. I was at like 7.5 this was a few months ago, I think. And that hurt. And then when you run the numbers on properties, it's like, I guess I'm not gonna be able to make this work now.
And I had to, that's exactly the battle I've been going through with this property is I was battling trying to get the lender didn't realize that this was a multifamily property, and so he was quoting me 15% down. I was like, oh, awesome.
Yeah, great. Yep.
And then
I've had that happen before too. And no, I'm positive 15% down. It's all you need. No, I'm pretty sure that's not it. And then I don't know what some of these lenders just don't, I don't know if they don't do it. Yeah. Maybe they don't do it enough where they don't understand, but, experienced lenders are always a good tool in your back pocket.
Huge. Yeah. With that's a question that could actually help me a lot and hopefully learn from you a little bit. Who have you? Most people use different lenders, or sometimes they use the same. It doesn't matter.
I've used a couple different ones, but on the commercial loan side, I use a bank, First Western Bank out of Bismarck. Okay. Kayla Bosch, she's been incredible.
Awesome.
Commercial loans are actually fairly easy to get. Actually, you're only writing a 5-year note, so that's kind of a panic to a lot of people. Like, oh gosh, what am I going to do in 5 years? Well, you figure it out in 5 or 4 years. You come up with a plan, what you want to do. Do you want to refinance it, or you want to sell it, get into something bigger? That might be a great opportunity for you. The majority of people, every 5 years they're refinancing anyways. So when you get a bank loan for 5 or 7 years, on the commercial, if you want to get into commercial stuff, which is above 4 units, it's no problem at all.
Okay,
I'm not worried about it.
Is that the norm, or is there other products? Is it normally a 5?
Yeah. So actually, right now, I just talked to her. They're only doing 5-year because nobody is taking these rates. Nobody's going to ask for a 10-year at 8% or 7.5%. You're going to be refinancing anyways. So they're only doing 5-year on commercial properties right now.
Okay.
At least this particular bank and the information that I have.
And so it's a 5-year, or is that amateur?
Amortized over 25.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Gotcha.
Yep. So it's over 25. So it's basically like
balloon payment.
Yep. 4 years and 11 months. This is going to be your payment, and it's going to scare you at first. And I'm still a little scared, but I still got plenty of time on that plan. So,
and I know it's always a risk for the investor to look like this, but if I had to flip a coin and say, are our interest rates going to be better today or in 5 years? I think we know I would hope we'd know the answer. In 5 years, I would hope they would be better than where we're at today.
Yeah. Everybody has their predictions, and nobody will know until it actually happens. And we look back. Yep. Hindsight's 2020 always. Oh, I should have bought in 2020. Should have bought in 2021. But they're always waiting. People are always waiting for that dip in the market. Oh, I'm going to wait for that dip and then I'll buy. I'll wait for that dip.
I have people, and I'm in the business, and you are too, and you're right in the real estate business, but I'm in the people business where I hear people talk about that all the time. Like, Colby, why are you buying right now? Like, the interest rates, all this. And I was like, if you're going to be waiting for this crash that's
supposedly going to happen,
you're going to be waiting a while.
Yep.
And I could eat my words, but guess what? That crash does not make any difference to me with my 10 to 20 year trajectory.
Yep.
Zero difference. Yeah. So where I'm at, I think it's always a good time to buy real estate. That's obviously a biased view.
Sure.
But I truly believe in that. And I'm somebody where, that's why I have people on here like you. You're 5, 10, 15 years ahead of me, and I just like learning from people like that. But I think we're taking the trajectory that we want for our future children, our families, and it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I had Bryce Kephart. I don't know if you know him at all.
Of course.
Yep, Kephart Services. He was on here and just talking about his whole trajectory is kind of a cool story too.
Yeah.
And so
I ran into him. Actually, I know him from Bigger Pockets, but
I didn't even know Bryce was on Bigger Pockets.
He's on it. And I actually ran into him out in the oil field probably like 10 years ago because he was doing some electrical work on places. And that's how we got to talking, and he's into investing. So I know him pretty well.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't looked recently, but I think there's not many more agents that are on Bigger Pockets in Dickinson, is there?
No.
I don't think there's any, because when you pull up investor-friendly agents in Dickinson, you come up.
Yeah, very few are actually on there.
Yeah. So in your inner circle.
And there's a meetup, of course. They have like a North Dakota meetup.
Yep.
And shame on me, I've never been to one. But they do have like investor groups that are in North Dakota. So if you're looking to get more information and you want to meet new people, you can go to these group meetups.
Yeah.
And they have them all over Bismarck, up at Garrison, between Minot and here.
So in your inner circle, not just say at Infinity, but the people that you know, the agents you know, how many others specifically own properties?
That is a very broad question and a tough one to answer because I talk real estate and investing all the time, but not everybody does.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to know or share how many properties they have.
Exactly.
And, I'm an open book, but not everybody is. So that's one I can't tell you.
Yeah. I get you. So from here, you are a couple months into your 2-year seasoning period of kind of waiting.
No, I'm almost to the end here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, by the end of this year, it'll be over. So,
okay. And then
because we're still looking for places. My wife and I are still looking for places. And when you're looking for like a forever home, we even talked about that. There's probably 2 in the whole year that we would probably want that would fit our needs. Yep. It's not every day that they just pop up. So
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so if you're looking for your forever home, it might be a year or 2 out that's going to take you to find that property.
This brings up a good point that you're kind of hinting at too, that with your process. I have a bunch of, I was the strength and conditioning coach at the university for 3 years. So like mentoring those young minds coming out of college that I'm not going to say is indoctrinated, but uneducated in this side of things. And I tell them the one mistake that I don't want you to do, even if you don't want to get into real estate, the one mistake I don't want you to do not buy your primary 100% forever home as your first purchase.
Yeah.
You'll be house broke. You will never be able to get into what you want to do. Just promise me you won't do that. If you can buy something that you can say, hey, in 5 years I can rent it out, then that's the only thing you did in real estate. That will set you up better than 90% of the people.
Yep.
Because you're right now, you guys had your individual properties that probably weren't your forever homes, but you had these individual properties, and now 5 properties later,
we can start looking at places.
13 doors, 12, whatever it is.
Yep.
Now you're looking for that place.
Yep.
That's a huge thing that people need to realize that you kind of skimmed over, but it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
The years go by faster than you think too.
Yeah.
You blink and all of a sudden, kids are growing up and you're 5 years down the road and you're thinking, oh man, why didn't I do this 5 years ago?
Yep. You said the little bit of a heartache with the 8-unit property. As you started, and it could be as of recent too, but as you started, what has been the biggest growing pain or the crappiest story that has happened to you in the real estate side? Because we want to talk about that too.
I've had some trashed units. I've had a few of them where it's shocking, where people will just get up and leave. All of their stuff is there, and they're like, "Yep, all right, done with this." Clap their hands, they're out.
Yep.
And you don't even know that they've left for another month. And then you got to go through the eviction process, which takes another month or 2. Yep. And so now all of a sudden, not only have you lost rent for 3 months possibly, but now you got to go back in and completely redo this unit. Yeah. That can hurt. And once again, that's got to be in your plan though too. You got to have a backup plan. You got to have reserves to cover things that can go wrong. And with enough units, enough doors, they're not all going to go wrong at the same time.
Exactly.
So you can stretch it out. Or I had a bad month. I got to put money back into this property. But that's to this one. It's making it better. I'll get higher rent now because I've had to go back in and fix it up.
Yep.
That's usually the biggest one. And you can try to avoid that by being very picky with your tenants.
Yeah.
And part of this property is I'm not managing it. It's up to another company to put tenants in there. Mm-hmm. So I'm not involved with that at all. I don't know who they're putting in. I set the criteria. I want this amount of criteria, but you still don't know. They might, and then people might look good on paper, and then they get in. Next thing you know, it's a drug den.
You never know.
Yeah,
you never know. And for me, I make it just simply for my head, just to have simple numbers. But for some people that haven't owned real estate, I usually, and this is just my figures, but I set aside 5% for maintenance, 5% for CapEx and 5% for vacancies.
Yeah. And CapEx is like the thing, like you're going to need a roof after 30 years. You're going to need a driveway. You're going to need to reshingle. You're going to need to do those things after so long. So you need to keep saving that.
And I could bump up CapEx a little bit, but that it's worked for me. I had an issue in my property down in South Dakota because we've had a winter unlike any other, and I had frozen pipes last year, and it was rough. Not a good situation. We were able to unfreeze it without too much damage, but it helps you become a better landlord and a better real estate investor. So now this last summer I went through and redid everything and put all PEX piping so that it can expand and not have water everywhere.
Now, I just actually was just messing around with PEX, and I didn't realize how easy it is to do a little light plumbing. When you're in this, when you're a landlord, when you're in this business, you need to have a little bit, you got to be able to do a little light electrical, light plumbing. Sheetrock repair is a big one. People are always punching holes in walls for some reason. But yeah, you got to have a little bit of that construction background.
Exactly.
And right out of college, I did work construction for maybe like 2 years.
Super
and I think
helpful.
That experience, like you're getting paid to learn a skill that's very helpful. That lasts the rest of your life. Any young kid, if they don't know what to do right after they graduate college, or right after high school even, I'm going to tell them, go work for a construction company, learn some skills.
It's just a great income generating skill all the rest of your life. And I wish I would have had that because my construction background came from owning my first rental. And it was like, what do I do? I need to put flooring in, all this stuff.
YouTube videos.
Yes, exactly.
YouTube videos are a great way to learn.
Toilets and everything, man. That's a big thing for kids too. I have a little sister who's going to be she's going to be a junior in college. And I told her when she was starting, time has flown. I thought she was a freshman just a little ago. But I told her, I said, unless you know exactly what you want to do not jump into college. Don't jump into it.
You're going to waste your money and you're going to be 3 years later. I still don't have a major, still don't know what to do.
I know. And then $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in debt if you're lucky. And so I told her, and she found out exactly what she wants to do. But a lot of my athletes, man, if you don't know, go to Ben or go to somebody in an industry that even interests you a little bit and volunteer your time, because your asset right now, you don't have money, but you have time. That's your thing. So start learning, and construction could be the best thing. I was telling I train a bunch of college kids here, and I was telling them, I said, I wish my father would have, that's something that I will do for my kiddos. I wish my father would have showed me more about house maintenance or even working on cars or whatever, because I didn't have any of that. So that's been super helpful. Do you have kids too, Ben?
So we don't have any of our own, but we do. We're our foster parents.
Really?
So we'll do that. So when we jumped right in the deep water with a teenage girl, which it was a struggle.
Awesome,
it's a struggle.
dude.
I don't know anything about teenage girls apparently, but
you're about to find out.
we're finding out. But
Good,
so we'll do that for that, and that kind of helps give back to the community. There's a lot of need for that. So if anybody's listening, thinking about it, give me a call. We can talk about it. There's a great need in North Dakota for more foster care.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. That's cool, man. I didn't know that. So what has been your best experience with real estate as we wrap up? What has been, we talked about the crappiness. What's been the big? The
best is like when I'm finally getting ready to put my 2 weeks in at my regular W-2 job. And it's like, all right, this plan is finally coming to play. I can retire from this career and move into the next one. And it's the one that I actually want to be in. It's the one that I want to do for the rest of my life. You can't just be fully retired. I'd go nuts. I wouldn't have anything to do. Seriously. And you always have to have something to do. But being a real estate agent, being a realtor, that was the goal. And being able to, all right, I'm done with the W-2 income. I'm done with that. I'm going to switch over and be fully self-employed. That was kind of one of the great moments.
Very cool.
And and then I found a really great match with Infinity Real Estate.
And it's been just a little over 2 years, you said. Awesome. Very cool, man. The last question that I usually wrap up with people is when all said is done, when Ben is gone, what's the legacy that you want to be known for when you're gone?
Wow. That is a tough one. Well, right now as a new parent, I guess I always want to put that to the next generation. It's like, I want her to be more successful than me. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I want to teach you the skills and this is how you do it. And I want you to kind of take over and do this kind of stuff when you're my age and start thinking already as in high school, start thinking way out there ahead. What you want to do. And it's tough when you're in high school. You don't know what you really want to do.
Exactly.
But at least start getting all these ideas flowing.
I grew up middle class. My family is all middle class. And so like my family didn't invest in the market. They probably had their 401ks and stuff, but they didn't freely have individual brokerage accounts, nothing. And so my education level on all that was zero.
Yep.
And so
mine as well.
yes.
I was my whole growing up, it was just kind of basically like your Poor Dad advice from the book. If you haven't read it, please read it.
Yep.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It really will. It'll point it right out the two different types of advice. And yeah, you hear this for your whole life, and then all of a sudden you get one person maybe in your life that's giving you the different advice, and it just clicks.
Yes, it does. And so my end goal is just to provide some guidance, maybe a North Star for my kid, and just be like, go think about this. Like, just go think about it. And maybe, because if he can do it 5 years before me, like everybody talks about, and this is going to be a soundbite on here, everybody wishes they bought real estate yesterday, you know? And so if we can get the education and the experience and the know-how so that we can make a decision, it'll play out in the end. You know?
Yeah.
So
when now you get your first job, you're not just saving in your savings account. You're saving for your first house.
No.
Like you need to start years in advance. So you're a sophomore in high school. You're already saving for your first house right now in this moment. So start thinking that far ahead.
It could be huge. It could be massive. The big thing that helped me was when I graduated college, I graduated with zero debt because of college football and my grades. And then I got my master's for free.
Oh, wow.
So like that whole thing, I think, was the biggest stepping stone for me. I didn't have the education, but I now didn't have the burden of all that. That was the biggest blessing I think I've ever had.
Wow,
you know,
great.
And not a lot of people are able, but there's ways to do it. You can go bounce at bars like I did. You can do all that stuff. You know?
Well, and then I had joined the National Guard, and they have a great program for paying for college. So if you don't want college debt, you look into that. That's a great option.
How long were you?
6 years.
6 years. Okay. In National Guard, what was like your MOS when you were?
I was a mechanic, which it was great. They wanted you to pick a job. Basically, you just drove to Fargo and they said, all right, you can be A or you can be B.
Boom.
Do you want to drive trucks or do you want to fix trucks? I was like, all right, I guess I'm fixing trucks.
There you go.
And then you get paid to learn a skill once again. And they got a little bit more of automotive background.
There you go. Were you, was it always reserve status?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. I was right here in the Dickinson unit.
Sweet.
Yep.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, it was a great 6 years. A lot of fun.
You learn a lot.
Yep.
A lot of
meet a lot of people.
I was just going to say, a lot of good people, man. That's what it comes down to. So, thank God for DePours. I appreciate the time a lot, man. It's
hopefully I did well, and maybe I even get an invite in another year, and I give you the update.
That's usually what we do, man. Is we have repeat offenders that do really well, and it's just cool to see the evolution.
Sure,
you know?
great.
So, Ben, it was a pleasure. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Where can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you, social or website stuff?
Sure. My office is at Infinity Real Estate at Villard, or hit me up on my cell phone, call or text. I got a real easy cell phone number. It's 260-0000. Yeah, I know. You heard it right.
Really?
260-0000.
How did you get that lucky
Luck
on that one?
of the draw.
That's a good one, man. Especially for a real estate agent.
Yeah, easy to remember. So if you're looking to talk about investing, even if it's 5 years, 10 years down the road, give me a holler. Let's talk.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, I appreciate the time, and reach out to him if you guys have any questions. And again, the best time to educate yourself and do it is yesterday. So get after it. We will see you guys next week.